Good morning, students. Today our topic is cyber safety, and this is cyber safety part 2. And in this lecture, we are going to discuss some basic concept regarding to cyber safety. So first of all, what is cyber safety? Cyber safety refers to the safe and responsible use of the internet so that to ensure safety and security of personal information and not posing threat to anyone else's information. So that is the definition of the cyber safety. I think the definition is very much clear to all of you. What is cyber safety? Now, second concept is IP address. What is IP address? IP address means Internet Protocol Address. That is the full form of IP address. And IP address is a unique address and it is a logical address. It means you can change, it can be changeable. So it is provided by network administrator or provided by provided by service provider. So IP address is a unique address of your device when you connect to the internet. So when you connect to the internet, so there is a unique address for your computer or your device. From your IP address, a website can determine your rough geographical locations. So your rough geographical location can be found out using your IP address. And you can see here that is an example of IP address. So an IP address can be split into two parts. First of all, network address, and second is host number. So network address is the address which specifies a specific network, and the host number which specify a particular machine in that network. And you can easily see that there is a number like that 148.78.250.12, and you can easily see that these numbers are again converted into 8-bit forms, or we can say that 8 bit is equal to 1 byte. So in this is a 4-byte address. 148 when converted into a binary number, then it is equal to 100101000. So it is a 8-bit address. Then 8 bit of 1 byte, 148 is converted to 1 byte, and 1 byte equal to 8 bit, and the 8 bits here are 100100100. Okay, then 78 is again converted into a byte, and 250, and same process follows for 12 also. So we can say that an IP address is stored in 4 bytes, and you can see that. So these 4 bytes again divided into two parts: network address and host address. First part is network address and the second part is host address. So two important things regarding to IP address. First of all, IP address is a logical address. It can be changed, and it is provided by network administrator or service provider. For example, if you have a SIM of Jio, then that company provide you a IP address for your SIM, and when you use this SIM for the connection of the internet, then you have a particular IP address for that machine or for that particular digital device, whether it is a tablet or mobile or a computer. And second part, which is very important regarding to IP address, that IP address can be divided into two basic parts. In first part is network address and second part is host address. And you can easily see that is an example in which IP address, there is a 4-byte IP address, and all four numbers are separated by dot sign. Okay, and when we compare it IP address to the MAC address, when we um, discuss about network interface card, then there is a concept MAC address. MAC address means media access control address, and MAC address is a physical address that is permanent for all NIC's card. That is the difference between the IP address and the MAC address. Then next topic is cookies. What are the cookies? So cookies are the small text file on a computer storing a small piece of information related to your online habits. So cookies are the first of all the small text file, and that are stored that is storing a small piece of information. Whatever you just search on when you go to the online, that information is stored in cookies. So cookies are the small text files. And as far as the type of the cookies are concerned, there are basically three types. First of all, the first party cookies, second is the third party cookies, and third is super cookies. So let us talk about one by one. First of all, first party cookies. What are first party cookies? First party cookies are the cookies that store your own login, ID, password, autofill information, etc. from website that you frequently visit. So that cookies store your login ID and password and autofill information. So second is third party cookies. These are the cookies that websites store to know about your search history and web browsing history to so as to place advertisement as per interest. And third party cookies may result unwanted advertisement on your web pages. So whenever just you open a web page, then you can see some advertisement are there, and then you if you open the same site on different computers, then it is possible that advertisement is that type of advertisement not there, or different advertisement are there. So on different computer, different types of advertisement are there, or it may be possible that for a particular computer, when open a same website, there is no advertisement there. It is because of the cookies, because of the third cookie. So third party cookies basically store your search history and web browsing history, and according to that they place advertisement as per your interest. Okay, so that is the role of the third party cookies, while first party cookies just store the login ID, password and autofill information in your computer system. So when you just go to the second time, then this type of information is already filled there using first party cookies. So that is the difference between the first party cookies and third party cookies. And this question is asked so many number of times, that was the difference between first party cookies and the third party cookies. So the difference is very simple. First of all, as far as cookies is concerned, are the text file that store your personal information when you just go to a website. And first party cookies basically stored login, password and autofill information details, and third party cookies website store information regarding to your search history and web browsing history, and they show advertisement according to that. Next is super cookies. So before discussing before going to discuss about super cookies, one thing should be remembered, that we can easily delete the data regarding to first party cookies and third party cookies. But as far as super cookies is concerned, super cookies are the persistence cookies. So it means that data is stored permanently in this type of cookies, and they come back even after you delete them. So even if you delete the data regarding to super cookies, you can then this type of data again is stored in this type of cookies. So super cookies are the persistent cookies, and you are not able to delete the data in super cookies. So that is the basic concept of the super cookies. So now basically we can say that we have three types of cookies: first party cookies, third party cookies and super cookies. First party cookies store login ID information, third party cookies store search history, and super cookies are the persistence cookies. So that is the difference between all these types of cookies. And the definition of cookies is very simple. Cookies are just are the text files that store your information about your browsing history when you go to a website. And next is private browsing, anonymous browsing. There are two terms: private browsing, anonymous browsing. So first is anonymous browsing. Anonymous browsing allows users to view website without revealing any personal information like their IP address. IP address means internet protocol address. If you don't want to display your IP address, then you can use anonymous browsing. So an anonymous browser lets user to access website anonymously. It means um, you are in a condition to hide your IP address. Next is private browsing. There are different types of private browsing, in which incognito browsing is most important. So what is incognito browsing? Incognito browsing basically opens up a version of the browser that will not track your activity. It means using incognito browsing, cookies are not able to store data according to your search history. So it is particularly useful if you are entering sensitive data like your bank details into your browser, and it can minimize the risk of your information being saved to that computer. So such type of there is a search engine named DuckDuckGo, which is a part of incognito browsing. So first of all, incognito browsing basically, if you want to hide your personal information regarding to your sensitive information, just like your bank detail or your password of a debit card or credit card, then you don't want to save this type of information into your computer system permanently, then you can use incognito browsing. So incognito browsing helps you to save to reduce the risk of such type of copy of the data. So incognito browsing opens up a version of the browser that will not track your activity. So that browser not track your particular activity regarding to your sensitive information. Okay. So and there is a search engine name the DuckDuckGo. So this is a search engine, and the name is DuckDuckGo. What is the use of the DuckDuckGo? And what is the uses of DuckDuckGo? Basically, using DuckDuckGo is first of all is a search engine. You can search privately, means that whatever you search on that DuckDuckGo, that information is not stored in your computer systems. So that is the advantage of DuckDuckGo. Next is a proxy. That is another type of private browsing, as the name says, proxy. So proxy works by acting a middleman between your computer and the website you want to access. So it acts as a middleman, and middleman for what? Between your computer and the website you want to access. Now the tagging website will get the IP address and information that belongs to the proxy site. So you are effectively getting the same content from another source without it getting to know your browsing details. So that is the main advantage of the proxy. So using proxy method, you can hide your personal information or your IP address, and when you hide just your IP address, then it is hard to detect you, or find out you, or find out your IP. And if someone is not able to find out your IP address, then he cannot able to store information in our computer system, in their computer systems, regarding to your search history, and other things. So using proxy, you are able to hide your IP address from other persons, and when you just hide your IP address from other persons, or the rest world, then you are able to hide any information, and in this way you are not easily tracked by someone else. So that is the main advantage of the proxy. Next very important term, virtual private network, which is also a part of private browsing. So it is also called as VPN. So what is VPN? VPN stands for virtual private network, and that allows you to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. So VPN is a method used to add security and privacy to private and public networks like Wi-Fi, hotspots, and internet. Okay, so VPN is a method used to add security and privacy to private and public networks like Wi-Fi, hotspot, and the internet. So when we want to just define the concept of the VPN, then you can say that VPN or virtual private network allow you to create secure connection to another network over the network. And VPN are most often used by the corporation to protect sensitive data. And this is also used to add security and privacy to private and public networks like the Wi-Fi and the hotspot and the internet. Now next topic is proper uses of the password. How can we use our password, and what are the different methods to proper use of the uses of the password? So password are the important form of the protection of you online. So what are the conditions regarding to strong passwords? You should have a strong password. So if you have a strong password, first of all, that keeps your personal information safe. First important thing. Second important thing, it protects your emails, files, and other contents. And third important thing, it prevents someone from breaking into your account. So it is hard to get your account details when you have some strong password. And ways in which your password may be cracked. There is a question that how many ways in which a password may be cracked. So first of all, someone out to get you. Some people desperately trying to get access to your account might be able to guess your email password and use password recovery option to access your account. So there is the option of recovery password when you create just a password in a Gmail or other websites. So using recovery options, someone can get your account details, and it may be possible that they can easily hack your account, Gmail account, or your social media accounts easily. That so someone out to get you. So some people desperately trying to get access to your account, and it might be possible using guessing your email password. It may be possible that he or she maybe is of your best friend, and he may guess your password, and may easily guess password recovery options to access your account. and second is you become the victim of the brute force attacks. Now, what is the brute force attack? So these attacks work by systematically checking all possible passphrases until the correct one is found. So he or she will be trying the correct password until he or she get the correct one. So it may be possible. So maybe when someone is your close friend of you, then he or she may get your personal information easily, very easily, and he or she may get he or she easily guess your password, and 2 or 3 times, or more than 2 or 3 times, he may guess a different password, and it may be possible that after some time he gets your correct password, and after getting the correct password, he or she basically misuse your account. Next is ways in which your password may be cracked. So there are different methods, or ways in which your password may be cracked. First of all, there is a data breach. So there is a term known as data breach. What is data breach? Data breach is an intentional or unintentional release of secure or private, or maybe we can say that confidential information to an untrusted environment. So it is possible by so data breach is an intentional or unintentional release of secure or private confidential information to an untrusted environment. So every few months, it seems that another huge company reports a hacking resulting in millions of people's account information being compromised. So this way, your account details may be get leaked, including your passwords. Now, I think the concept of data breach is not is now very clear to all of you. Data breach is the intentional or unintentional use of secure or private confidential information to an untrusted environment, and it is done in case of when company gives information of thousands of its customer to an untrusted environment, and it may be possible that your account details may get leaked, including a password. So this is the concept of the data breach. Choosing good password. So what are the different techniques to choosing good password? First of all, no dictionary words, proper nouns or foreign words, because if there are involved simple dictionary words or proper nouns or foreign words, then your someone gets your password very easily, and easily crack your password. No personal informations must be there. There, if there is some personal information like your date of birth, your surname, your city name, your organization name, this type of information are involved in your password, then someone can easily guess your password. And always use longer passwords, because if your password is long, then it is hard to guess it, or there are much more combinations in terms of letters or the characters as compared to the short passwords. So it is hard to find out if the password is long as compared to the short password. And use passphrase to remember complex passwords. So if you just give a complex password, then always use passphrases to remember that complex password. But because most of the time it is found that you also forget your password, so you just use passphrases to remember your complex password. Then do not repeat password on different websites. Some persons um, use same password for different website. So if a particular website get your address, will get your password, and that is a password for your bank account also, then it may be possible that they use that password for your bank account details, and they can easily access your bank account details. So always use different password for different websites or different accounts. It is not like that your bank account password is same for the access of if you want to access it as the Amazon or Flipkart or any e-commerce website, so you just give that same password for that purpose. Okay, so always use different password for different websites, and don't use password that are based on personal information. That is very important information. uh, every person have some personal information, and most of the time users use user create a password regarding to their personal informations. So personal information can guess very easily, and regarding to the personal information, there is a password. Then this password may be easily cracked. So don't use a personal information regarding to your password, and use different password in different systems in an account. If you use more than one systems or more than one computer systems or different accounts are there, then always use different password for different systems and account, and also for different website. That is already discussed in our previous point number 5, previous point. Okay, so these are the some techniques regarding to choosing good passwords. Some There are two other methods, or we can say that techniques to using good password. Use a combination of capital and lowercase letters, numbers, and then special characters. So when you create a password, then always that password should always contain a combination of capital letter as well as lowercase letter. There are numbers, there should be numbers also, and then special characters also. So some of the website suggest you to create a password using capital, lowercase letters, and the numbers and the special characters, because it is hard to identify or hard to guess when you just use a capital letter or lowercase letter combinations with numbers and special characters. And last point is, don't use word that can be found in any dictionary of any language. We just don't use any word, simple words that is a part of the dictionary or that anyone can easily guess. Okay, so don't use simple words that is found in any dictionary or any languages. That is these are some good techniques to choose a good password. Next our topic is confidentiality of information. What is the confidentiality of information? Confidentiality of information ensure that only authorized users get access to the sensitive and protected data. Only the authorized means one person who is who have legal right to use a particular account. Okay, so confidentiality of information ensure that the only authorized user get access, means are able to read or write, are able to perform read and write operation on a particular part of the data or sensitive data. Okay, so that is all about the confidentiality of information. Next is practices to ensure confidentiality of information. There are some practices which ensure confidentiality of information. First of all, use firewall wherever possible. So what is firewall? First question that is there in our mind. So let us take a diagram first. You can first of all just see this diagram. There is a LAN and there is a WAN also, and there is a wall. We can say that it is a firewall. And when we want to share the information between these LAN and WAN, then the information pass through a firewall. So it protect the data, or we can say that when some data is goes from LAN to WAN or from WAN to LAN, then it must be checked by a firewall that whether it is a sensitive data or not. If it is found to be sensitive, then it is not passed by the firewall and stopped by the firewall in that case. So that data cannot be shared using LAN and WAN. That is the concept of the firewall. So firewall is a network security device. First of all, it is a network security device, okay, that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffics and decide whether to allow or block a specific traffic based on a defined other set of security rules. So there are some set of security rules which are defined, already defined, and according to the set of security rules, some data can pass through firewall and some data are blocked by the firewall. It may be possible. So firewall is a network security device, first of all, and that monitor incoming and outgoing network traffic and decide whether to block or allow specific traffic based on a specified set of security and rules. And second important thing, firewall may be a hardware, it may be software, or it may be a combination of both the hardware and the software. So firewalls are generally designed to protect network traffic and users when determine who can access a particular computer or networks. So in this concept of firewall, the main focus is to about who can access a particular computer or networks. So if we want to block a particular computer or particular network or particular type of data, then we can use firewall. So firewall is a network device which can, using firewall, we can block particular type of data, or we can restrict our data, that what is to be passed through a firewall, or what is to be blocked by firewall. Next is a control browser setting to block tracking. We can also control our browser setting and using browser setting we can also block tracking, and no one can track our data or track our search history. Second is browse privately wherever possible. So always use a private browser for that purpose. And when you use privately, when you use a privately browse, then it is hard to detect your data and to find out the data what you search on a particular website. Next is be careful while posting on internet. So when you just post any information regarding to your bank account details or in any personal details, so be careful whether it is a secure website or not. If it is a secure website, then no problem at all. But if it is not secure, then find out whether it is a secure or not, whether it is a correct channel or not. So be careful while posting on the internet. Next is ensure safe sites while entering crucial information. So always ensure that whether a particular website is safe or not while entering crucial information. And you can do it in two manner. First of all, type the URL of the website in the address bar of the web browser. Do not click on a link that takes to the website. Sometimes you may there is a possibility then there is a particular link into your WhatsApp group or into your email account, and just click on that link, and that link will open a website, and that website you can share information. So don't use this. Don't just click on a particular link. Always give the URL of the website on the address bar of the browser. That will help you a lot. And by doing this, or it may be possible that your personal information so by doing this it may be possible that your personal information may not be shared by anyone else. Okay. Next is ensure safe site while entering crucial information. So second point regarding to this is ensure that type the URL of the website on the address bar of the browser. Do not click on the link that takes on the website, or do not cut copy of the link of the website and paste it. So do not use cut copy option of the link. Do not directly click on the link. Just type the address of the website first of all. And second important thing regarding to that always check whether the site contain HTTPS or not. HTTPS. HTTP is a protocol, we always known that. So if that site contains HTTPS, S is there. HTTPS, that means S is for secure. So that we can say that it is a secure connection. And there is a padlock sign here. If there is a padlock sign, then it means site is secure and you can share information without any hesitation. But if it does not contain S, it means there is only HTTP or there is no padlock sign, then remember that it is not this site is not safe, and don't share the personal information regarding to that site. So these are some important points regarding to the practices to ensure confidentiality information. And practices to ensure confidential information, some other points are carefully handle emails. Do not give sensitive information on wireless network. Always remember that when you connect to the wireless network, then don't give sensitive information, they may be tracked. Avoid using public computers. So don't share your personal information. Don't share personal information in a cyber cafe or some other computer systems which are used more than one persons. So browse privately first of all. Don't save or login information. Never save password while working on a public computer. On public computer, it is expected that you don't save your personal information on a public computer, and avoid entering sensitive information onto public computer. So just avoid to entering sensitive information on a public computer. So these are some important points regarding to the practices which to ensure confidentiality and informations. And there is a last point regarding to that. Avoid using public computer. Regarding to the public computer, don't leave the computer unattended while sensitive information on the screen. So it is not like that you just access a particular computer and that is a public computer and just you give the personal information on that and you just leave it as it is. Okay. So second point is disable the features that store password. and there's a option which is store the password. So always disable the store password option. Properly log out before you leave the computer. Before you leave the computer, properly log out your account, whatever is your bank account or your social media accounts or your Gmail accounts, whatever it is. So properly log out there. Last is erase history and trace out of your work. Clear history and cookies. So clear the data of the cookies so no one can easily guess what you search on a particular computer. So that are the practices to ensure confidentiality and information. So that is all about our today's topic about cyber safety. So thanks for watching this video.